everybody. Welcome to the Shellfish meeting. It's March 12th. Before we get started, there's a notice of recording. Please note that tonight's meeting is recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. And in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting, and if so, to make their presence known. Seeing no one. All right, first order of business. Let's meeting minutes from February 12th, 2025. Does anyone have?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. And next we are on to natural resources report.
Okay, so I'll start off with number one, just growing area updates. And these are just the maps that will become effective April 1st. April 1st closes Shoestring Bay. It's a short-lived opening over there. This area here is currently open and will be what is closed effective April 1st. April 1st also marks the closure of the Scudder Lane recreational area for the propagation season. So this is a blow-up of what the harbor will look like. We have the rec area closed. We still do have this closed to razor clamming area. We'll get out there once it's a little bit warmer and see how they've been growing. They were like 2.5, 3 inches last spring when we shut it down. So it might be suitable to reopen. We just haven't poked around on them yet. And then our blow up of Scudder. I did email the recreational shellfishery today just to let them know that this would be closing April 1st, because for some reason it's just a very hard date for people to like commit to their memory. So hoping to mitigate that just a little bit. Next we have the monthly propagation report, which was submitted by shellfish technician Amanda Lee. And I'll put that up on the screen for you guys. They say they've had a very busy month. In February, they visited Ward Aqua Farms in Pecasset. They will be providing our scallop seed that we're buying this year. It was great to tour their facility and see how they operate so that we can have confidence in the upcoming season. Liz, shellfish biologist, has finalized our own yearly propagation report, was submitted to DMF last week, so we can get a new propagation report hopefully by, I don't know, May is when they usually maybe come around. They've continued to work on their educational outreach programs. Liz held a 3-hour lecture at Roger Williams on cohogs. Additionally, she spoke at an intro to shellfishing course held by Woods Hole Sea Grant. That's the fundamentals of shellfish farming. Most recently, they worked with Barnstable Land Trust and went into a kindergarten class to teach a lesson on shellfish. Additionally, they'll be teaching 2 5th grade classes at the end of March, and we'll be holding a field trip to Scudder in the spring. They're very excited about all of these outreach opportunities. If any of you have met our newer shellfish technicians, they're younger females, they're in their 20s, they're super motivated, very creative, and really very interested in like getting into the classrooms in the wintertime and striking up interest in our young people to enjoy our shellfishery. This month they've been reviewing resumes for the seasonal staff positions. They have 2 openings and will be conducting interviews in the next couple of weeks to determine who will come aboard the crew for the season. They finally finished power washing all of the oyster trays and lids. They continue to complete gear maintenance with freshly cleaned gear. And as always, they perform monthly maintenance of the predator exclusion nets and routine water testing with Division of Marine Fisheries in our closed aquaculture areas. Does anyone have any questions about the propagation report?
What do you have for a target number of, do you have any idea how many scallops?
That is an excellent question to ask the shellfish biologist when she sits in this meeting for me next month, because I don't. The shellfish biologist and the technicians are the ones that sort of like keep the, like we as officers keep the data on like the harvest pressures. They're the ones that manage the propagation budget. So I don't have that number, but I'll ask Liz to bring some numbers of what they're looking to do this year.
What did you guys do when you bought them, out of curiosity, when you bought them from Taylor I don't know.
Previous?
15, yeah, like
We
what
bought
is-
them field plant size when
Oh.
we would buy them, yeah, so they'd be like little, like, meow.
And how many did you buy when you?
I don't, it's been a handful of years, so I
Yeah.
don't remember off the top of my head, but I wanna say it was like maybe 200,000, somewhere around there. That maybe is high,
So that's
sure.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, those are excellent questions for Liz, and I will be
Okay.
sure to ask her to come prepared to answer those
She's not
questions.
gonna wanna.
Huh?
She's not gonna wanna come to the next meeting.
No,
She'll be
no,
glad to do
that's
her
not,
one and done.
numbers is easy, that's not a hard lift.
Awesome.
Anything else, anyone? Okay, so moving on to Centerville River Relays, so we do them every other year. In the portions of the Centerville River that we're permitted to by Division of Marine Fisheries, so we can go into our sort of conditionally restricted areas, not our prohibited areas. This has been shared with the commercial permit holders, who tend to have the most interest in participation, but I also have requested web requests to put it up on the town website because it is open to anyone in the general public that wants to participate. We have 2 dates in May that are centered around low tide, and then 2 dates in May that are centered around high tide. So bushel baskets will be provided, just a reminder that you all have to fill out if you're interested in it, like the I-9, and also like a vendor application. Any questions about Centerville River Relays?
It's all available, I'm assuming. I just show up at the shop, you guys shop and you have the I-9.
So once we get closer to it, if you express interest in it, either, to me or to Liz, and we just have to make them for 2025.
Gotcha, okay.
And then, yeah, but I think oftentimes
Formality
they
thing.
just come with like a binder and have people fill out the paperwork like the
Yeah, you
day
don't know
of.
who's coming.
Because you have no idea who's gonna show up.
And then the other thing is, what strata of the river is that? Is that like is it the whole thing, or is it like from the
No,
bridge
so
down,
so
or
we basically, like where the
2 rivers
Where the
meet?
Bumps River Bridge
Yep.
is, we can go just past that.
Okay,
To a line that DMF was okay with. And then from there down towards East Bay.
and what about up back towards McCarthy? Nothing stops there at that mouth and comes in? Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Anyone else? All right, foraging ahead. Climbing class for kids. Osterville Library likes us to have these dates ready in like February, so we already have those dates assigned. This will be the 21st annual fun-filled climbing class for kids. So we're doing Saturday, June 28th at 8:30 a.m. Bridge Street, and Sunday, June 29th at 9:30 Bridge Street. Fingers crossed, the recreational area will be open this year and will remain open year-round moving forward, so we can kind of go back to a somewhat normal or more normal situation with that recreational area in terms of planting it and managing it and, kind of bringing it back for the rec fishery who's definitely been missing it. So they do now, for a few years, paint a clam and plant it, and the kid that finds the hot pink clam wins a prize. So I don't know what the prize is. Anyone have any questions about climbing class for kids? We're gonna do a little bit more outreach in terms of trying to get the word out about it this year, so hopefully we'll drive the numbers up. Sometimes the morning tides tend to be like the better ones, and those can be challenging to get the kiddos out to, so we're just trying to hopefully drum up some more interest in it. And then,
Amy?
yes,
The Osterville Library, what do they have to do?
they have like a
There?
brochure that they put out every year of like events in town, and it gets published very early in the season. And they typically ask us to provide our information for at least our clamming classes for kids so that they have that to hand out to people as soon as like people start showing up. And then just a couple of other housekeeping items. Oyster season closes effective April 1st this year. Sometimes we close down earlier. This year we did not. So the last day to harvest oysters will be Sunday, March 30th. Scallop season also closes April 1st every year. So the last day to harvest those will be Monday, March 31st. We're still in commercial renewal season. If I texted you this week, it means you have outstanding items. that need to be submitted prior to the end of March if you want to actively fish in April. I will be going away the 28th and will be leaving with staff a list of people that still have outstanding items. So if you are intending on fishing the month of April, which I know a lot of people are, there's still probably half permit holders that have stuff they have to turn in. And then in May, when I come back, I will have some discussion around some regulations that address behavioral expectations of the general public as it pertains to interactions with staff and other people of the public. It's consistent with regulations that are in place at Sandy Neck to kind of deal with aggression, belligerence, those types of things. And then we have been looking into SNAP eligible shellfish permits for people who are on food stamps or a part of the SNAP program to be able to get a shellfish permit for free so they can have additional sustenance for their family throughout the year. So be ready to stay tuned for that coming your way in May. I think that's all I've got other than, this is technically, we do manage herring through our regulations, and herring season is pretty much barreling down on us. Like they should be here along with osprey and plovers in the next week or two. So I imagine scouts are already out and about, but we still have some work to do in the herring runs to get them up into the ponds.
Mark?
Mark Begley from West Barnstable. Amy, quick question. I know you're not the lead on the herring stuff, but the EMF's decision not to try restocking the pond in West Barnstable, the mill pond, is there any way we could ask them to revisit that issue or try to get back on the list for next year in light of the fact that they didn't give us that greater guidance on what needed to be done on the previous stockings, if you know what I mean?
I do, yes, I do. I do think that they feel that they've met their commitment in terms of stocking for 3 years consistently. It was unfortunately at the end of the third year that they told us that we should be putting a net in front of like the fish weir that they use to exit in order to keep them in the pond for long enough, guaranteed that they would potentially spawn. It would have been great information to have those first 2 years, but unfortunately we didn't have it till year 3. So I understand the frustrations, and I would say the group of people that came together to request that this happen to begin with, we should revisit the letter that I think it was Pete Sampu wrote to DMF back in whatever year that was, maybe even 2017 or 16, because they had to do the 3-year habitat assessment before they would commit to stocking. So it was a while ago, but I probably have it somewhere and could fish it out. And we could, sort of revisit that as a way to sort of start the conversation up again.
Yeah, 'cause I think it would be great to see if we could get it restarted soon so we don't have to go through that 3-year period again.
Yeah. I know they were pretty hard on the no for this year and had decided last year already that they had felt they met their requirements. So we weren't surprised that when we sort of, poked them about it for this year that they said no.
Amy,
But yeah, we can definitely revisit it.
do you know if they're gonna do a count there this year, just in case something does come back?
No, it's just going to be observations of like we go there, routinely to kind of make sure that the water is flowing, that there are no obstructions. Because obviously, if you've been down there to count, it's a relatively small fish ladder, and it gets gunked up pretty quickly. So we visit it routinely, but that's like when we can get there, and not necessarily when fish might be running. The gentleman who had let us use the property for a short period of time has zero interest in allowing us back on the property to get access to count. And we did get in a bit of trouble with the railroad people for...
Where is the fish?
Where is this?
Yeah.
This is in Mill Pond in West Barnstable. So it's like a pond that's in between
Is that the
Maple
Willow
Street
Street?
and Willow Street, yeah.
So does that come out
It's
of
like
the trout hatchery
Boat
on Route
Cove,
49? It's not that
Boat
one?
Cove Creek
No.
essentially. in Barnstable Harbor is what ends up feeding that.
So if you go, you know where the West Barnstable Library is?
Yes.
So you go down to 6A,
Yeah.
turn left,
Yeah.
go up to Willow,
Yeah.
turn left.
Yeah.
And when you get to the train tracks, you park there and then you
Oh,
walk
I
to
know
your
the
right.
pond. Okay, there's pond down there at
Yeah.
the bottom of the hole.
Yeah.
Really? No kidding,
That would be
huh?
Mill Pond, yeah. So like the water from the harbor runs underneath the
Wow, I
railroad
did not know
tracks.
that there.
Yeah,
Huh, cool.
Yeah.
If I could just follow up, I used to take my kids there to watch that herring run. It was just so local to where I was in West Barnstable. And it was a very viable herring run until somebody illegally blocked it and cut off the population. And so it didn't die of natural causes. It was a man-made obstruction that was put in. So that's why it's a shame to not see that back like it used to be.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'll dig through my stuff.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, I think it's a big shame that DMF didn't communicate effectively the factors that it needed to succeed.
Yeah,
I feel like I
I-
wasted my time with that because.
I know, yeah. It wasn't easy getting those fish into that pond by any means.
No.
Um,
And when he said it at the end after we had done everything again for those 3 years, 5 of us were standing there and all of a sudden all of our jaws dropped and we're looking at it, it's like, where did that come from? You know, it was so,
You'd think they would have given you written directions, you know?
I wonder if stalking would actually work though, aren't they genetically?
So yeah, so the
Don't they genetically know where to
the
go?
whole
Make 'em
theory
do it.
behind the stalking was we took from a donor population that was sort of close by, so it was a Monument Beach herring run. We borrowed like between 500 and 1,000 fish from them each time that we stalked. And the intent, the reason they do it for 3 years is to try to change that sort of sense of where you want to go.
so when the eggs are laid though, they're imprinted with that pond.
The young ones are, yeah, for
The
sure.
new ones will go out and
Yeah.
probably go back to the other place, hence the problem. But
Yeah.
any that are forced to stay in there and lay the eggs, those, when they hatch, they will be imprinted to come back. And that's the only run in Barnstable Harbor. So again, it's a shame to not have another run in the harbor.
Because there's certainly fish hanging out there. They would like a place to go.
You get herring in Barnstable Harbor?
Oh, yeah.
Used to be a lot more
Yeah.
when there was a
Yeah.
run.
So we'll move on. I understand there's a concern with some of the dredging in the embayments and some safety issues between guys raking and guys dredging. If someone wants to speak on that, just so the committee can understand the situation. I know the embayments are about to close.
Yeah.
Or being able to drag in them. So I know we'll bring it up for discussion, and then once Amy's back in May, we'll bring it up again, and then, you know, we have an allotted amount of time to see if we can figure something out.
Before next winter,
Exactly.
basically. Yeah, we have plenty of time to have numerous discussions over coming months regarding how best to manage it. It does seem, unfortunately, like there's not a lot of participation from wild harvesters in these meetings, and it's always, you know, or at least it seems to me, to be like at the 11th hour, people come in with concerns about things, and it would be much more proactive if people could come together in a room. Not everybody has to have the same opinion on something, but those types of conversations and discussions are what can lead to finding common ground that helps build a regulatory framework. We went through it for well over a decade, going through aquaculture regulatory change. There's no reason why we can't figure out something that works for dragging. It's just, we're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet.
Anyone from the public care to comment?
Jason French, commercial claimer. I've been working on flats. I go on the flat and I have to fall in a hole or something because the dredge boats are going way too close to the shore. I'm like, I'm not on a boat, I walk in the shore. I mean, I'm limited to places where I can park now because people buy houses and say we can't use it properly, and I'm like, I don't know what to do now. Because they're taking, the dredge boats are cleaning everything up, all the flats.
There was a suggestion.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. So I've had about, I don't know, probably 5 instances where I have been in the water fishing. A couple have been with Jason as well. Last one was in East Bay. It seems, and I see the dredge marks all the time. It's nothing, they're not scary, a lot of them. Like if you go 100 feet away from where I had my incident in East Bay, it's just sugar sand and it's great, and it's exactly how a dredge should run through the sand, and there's a small little windrow and everything kind of works its way back in. But where I've had my issues is where the dredge, and there hasn't been any impediment either from like going into the red line of the closure or anything like that. It seems like everybody's been staying where they're supposed to be. So in these open water areas where they are allowed, it seems that where the turns are, you always have to turn to come back on your line. And when you do that with any dredge, it's gonna canter, dig, it fishes different than when you are just driving it in a straight line. So when you're having these intersection points, I don't know how deep of a knife they're using or anything like that, but when you take something that's 200, 300, 400 pounds, I'm assuming when it's full of stuff, and you cross it over now 2 times, because you're not, again, they're driving to the same point and going around, so it's not just a one and done thing, you're cornering and going over a same spot numerous times. So now you've created a trough where each time crosses, and sometimes it can get a little sketchy. I don't see anybody here that is dredging, so that's unfortunate,
Yeah.
because can't really talk about it.
But I
Which
think,
I'd like to talk about,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
I think,
'cause it's like, we can, it's good for like what
a bullet
I,
list for May would be great.
Yeah.
I know one of the suggestions that I heard was dragging out of the embayments altogether and making it just outside. Personally, if that's gonna result in less people calling me and arguing with one another, like but the reality is that it could have a benefit to bottom.
yeah, no.
That could result in better seed
Can
recruitment,
we
so,
get West Bay, like, no dredging in West Bay?
in West Bay.
In West Bay.
I mean, I think we can add that as
Because we use
a
that-
bullet list
That's what we
concern,
use in the summertime, so.
yeah. I also think there was a suggestion that having time restrictions similar to what we have for pumping soft shell might be applicable here, cause it would limit the amount of dragging that could be done on those higher tides where you can get up closer to where areas might become a safety issue.
It's just, there's no, I've done a lot of thinking, there's no right answer. There's different means of fishing. Obviously, this has been trial phased and it's here. This is not like it's been a 1-year brought up project. But the bottom is ever changing. No 2 pieces are the same. So it's just one of like, do we push the buffer out a little bit? I mean, again, that doesn't really help because, like, let's take West Bay. Are we able to pull a map up by chance? Is there any way we can do that? Even a shellfish area,
Yeah.
or Google.
I remember the last time I tried to use
It shut down.
Google, it didn't. Oh, okay.
Excuse me, how long does it take the bottom to recover?
I don't know.
Depend on-
I only know what I have heard here. I haven't heard an
You
actual
want-
That's
fact. I don't know.
What?
Good. And that's what I
Would
don't.
you like? Yeah.
Just do West Bay.
Okay.
And that's the thing I'd mentioned, like previous to all this, is if we had a dictated area, I'm just gonna use a name because it's easy, just call it actually just do that. If you dictated where Joe's Grant used to be, and we said, okay, we're gonna work this bottom and we're gonna check it out. We're gonna use all the green buoys we just bought, and we're gonna make a little line, and this is where all the dredging is gonna take place, and we have to take the stuff out because I still don't think that that's happened yet, and I think that's important. But if you had a grad student or somebody study the thing outside of a fisherman or a couple fishermen, because every single person's gonna have their own way of doing it correctly, and actually get somebody that says, okay, there's this much species in a square foot of mud, and now after 1 year, there's this many. It needs to be a full scope look. It's not a quahog game. It's the crabs. It's all the little. It's like farming. I mean, you don't. I've used this analogy before. You don't chisel plow your field every year. You don't go 2 feet down to the subsurface. It's not a thing you should be doing. It's
Right.
terrible for it actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know that question. I would imagine a couple years. I mean, everything kind of takes a couple years. And again, I think it could be good. Like you see where the dredge works nice, and it's like that did a very nice, like in sugar sand, or if it's an applicable bottom, it does a nice job turning it over. Whether it's damaging every stubby razor and steamer clam it's going over top of, I don't know. You know what I mean? And they can't know because you don't know until you go back and dig it up. You know, so it's like one of those. It's a fine thing, and that's another thing. Like if we rotated open areas, then you kind of lessen that overall impact, because again, I don't have a dredge yet, but if I was dredging, I would go to the same spots because I know there's fish there. So it's not like a exploratory thing that you're doing. Like I fish on every fisherman is fishing their spot. So I would lie to you if I just go out and go, all right, where am I gonna go today, and go like that. You do the exact same thing you try to replicate the same scenario each time you go out, if you can. But that's what I would love to know. You know, it's like, is it good? Is it great? I mean, I don't
Is
know.
it not worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea.
That's where I'm at too.
Literally have no
Now
idea.
it's time to see what is the long-term effects of where these guys have been hitting it.
Yeah.
But we don't have a
But the
bikini.
only thing we have is just the years that we've done in the Mills River, and this year there was no dragging allowed in Mills River. So and next year will be no dragging allowed in Mills River. So we had opened up other areas just to give people, opportunity. But it wouldn't be with the intent that those areas would be open every year.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, how long does it take to recover? Is it 5 years? Is it 15, 20? That's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So that's where we kind of,
We don't know.
where we
yeah.
let, exactly,
Right.
we let those guys hit it for a while, and
check
is
it
it
out
20
after.
years before anything's worth going at again? So,
Yeah.
and now they can go back, or they can go outside the channel. I think now it's time to do the science on it.
Yeah.
How long is it gonna take to recover? What's going in there?
Yeah.
What's growing?
So can we do sampling of the areas periodically? Would that give us some sort of data to understand what was going on the bottom?
I think
we need to
mark
find
off a
somebody
certain
to do
section?
funding
Is it okay?
and getting.
outside of.
It's
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that, but we're gonna do just this square area for a sampling?
Yeah, it's something that probably would be best suited for a student who's.
It would be incredible if
Yeah.
we could do something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we
It
got
would
the
literally be
students hanging
incredible.
around, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There are students.
Well, let's start thinking about it, and then once we're back in May, and hopefully tell other guys, like.
Yeah,
told-
and I
we
would
gotta
come
encourage.
here.
Yeah.
I would encourage,
we come
I
here?
think I've said it numerous times before, but I would encourage anybody who, hears this after the fact that has an opinion on the matter. If you don't feel like you can attend a meeting, you can always put something in writing. I'm not going to ignore somebody's opinion just because it was written down somewhere, but if you don't share it, then we don't know that exists.
Yeah, like if I could just stand up and show it, just so these guys kind of understand how there's some impacts. I don't know the exact dredge lines, but typically on most of these maps, there's a small line that's outlining the shoreline. What did we decide, 50 feet or what was that?
I think I might even be able to find the maps from, when would we done that? Maybe, there are the maps in here.
Oh, there might be a better map, because it
Right.
probably shows the whole thing, right?
Is this this is just
Perfect.
the crappy ones that I drew.
That's okay.
There are better
So-
GIS ones the following month.
Some of the issues is obviously, this is good for shoreline, but the problem, we're just gonna use West Bay because it's easy.
Would be bumping
Really,
up
the
that
only
bike
spot
ride.
that we can't walk is where is where my blue pen kind of is. So if you're on shore and you come here, we can walk all the way out to the channel. We can walk all the way out to the channel. So you're literally in the middle of the water.
Yeah.
And now you've hit an intersection, and you don't know, because you can't, I mean, you do your best to walk around carefully, like you do all the time. It's delicate bottom, especially in some of the areas there with muck. But when you get to a trench and you're already like this, you expecting it to be okay, you know what I mean? And again,
Those are the ones that GIS put together. for
yeah,
me.
so I mean, like, on the left-hand shoreline, the dredge line works great. You can't, that's right on time. We couldn't walk out there if we wanted to, but then
And like
80% of the other area, it's like you can still,
out here.
you can still, oh yeah, that
you go all the way
whole,
out to
the
the
whole
channel.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even on the right-hand point there, you can still, we can still exceed that. And like if you go to East Bay, again, you can walk the entire, a lot of it's delicate, I call it delicate bottom, because it's just muddy and you get one chance to go through there and that's it, but.
You can go to East Bay.
But like, take an example for the
So you're
right-hand
saying,
side, this is an entire, you have this channel that comes out, it hugs right about here.
Stop touching the
Oh,
screen.
am I touching it? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, this flat actually comes from over here, all the way out here, and there's only about 20 foot of channel, and then you can come right back out into here. Again, you're not gonna be wanna walking around out here, but my incident had occurred up here at the point where that intersection happened. And I had been there last year, and that's why we went walking up there, and I was in this much water and I went up to my waist and you could physically see where the two perfect 10-inch marks had gone. It had divoted down because it had hit the previous track, probably with the front of the dredge, causing it to just go like that. And then we got into, all the substrate was gone up top, so I literally right on down, gone. I told him, I'm like, getting out of here, we're done with this. I'm like, I'm not walking around here anymore.
Well, that's definitely not what
How deep is it?
Well, I was in-
Making
we were
those
in,
plans.
I was in
less
this
knee
deep
water.
So we went out and it was I'm surprised there wasn't a tsunami, but it was so low in there that the high tide, when we went out, it was almost high tide and it wasn't even at the low tide mark of normal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could see every single sand, you could almost walk across that whole bay when we were out there. It was like almost dry.
Yeah.
So it becomes, when you get these big minus tides, I mean, when you lose an extra foot of water, I mean, and it stays northwest, I mean, it stays out. So you can fish a lot of area. But again, I would love to see it clean up. I mean, I hope it does work, but it's like, I don't want to see anybody get killed, you know what I mean? I know it's happening, not the rec people, not the fishermen, not like, you know, I don't know.
These are all very valid concerns.
Amy, on that map you just had of East Bay,
Uh-huh.
right where he's talking, as far as navigation goes, that channel gets incredibly narrow
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
and incredibly
Oh, yeah.
shallow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is relatively new, where it's become that shallow where, you know, you can't even use your GPS, you just have to really use your depth finder and hope that you're okay, you know, and it's just for that little blip. And
Yeah, we couldn't drive that day we were out there. We
so
couldn't-
my
we
concern
couldn't
is,
do that.
does the dredging change the bottom enough so that things are gonna start to shift? And, you know, bottom's gonna move and create some navigational hazards since it's such a tight spot.
Valid.
It is tight in there, I mean, there's literally no channel.
Yeah, it's like
there.
once you
There's
get
no
past
channel
there, you're
anymore.
fine. And then there's somebody who thinks it's really fun to keep moving the red and green markers, they'll just drag them.
Yeah, there's a huge mooring right pretty much where that cursor is right now, that is terrifying. It's deadheaded, we saw it plain as day when this water went out, but I'd been driving through there, I'm like, holy cow. Right at the end of the river. I can't believe nobody's got it, I'm glad I didn't get it.
Alright, so let's revisit it in May and we'll use the year to try to figure something out. Cause I think, you know, there's arguments on both sides, I think we can make a reasonable conclusion to
Yeah, just needs
get
to be
something
talked
done.
about.
So,
Yeah.
so anyone home, try to make it.
So the dredging shuts down on when?
May 1st.
May 1st for
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
everything?
yeah, 'cause
But except
that's-
for the outside, you can do that all
You
year?
could do outside
yeah.
year round,
Okay.
yeah, just like you could, you know, right now we're in the 30-day review period for the increased limits, yeah. that were just in the most recent public hearing for regulation changes, so in another month, those should be.
Has anybody
For
tried
real.
dredging Hyannis at all, or have you heard
Nope,
of them?
I know of, nope, everybody's been busy getting
What's
those
up with
claims.
that red boat that's been outside of Hyannis?
I don't know,
There's a red boat that's been between the Spindle and Calmus. I think it's from New Bedford or something.
they're probably in a state-managed fishery,
They're like, alright.
which falls outside of my jurisdiction.
I mean, they're right.
It's not any
Yeah,
of
okay.
you. I know
Yeah,
that
no,
much.
we're all trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, Connor called me and asked me about that boat maybe like a month ago. I wanna say. I'm
Because he's
not
been
sure.
like between the HH to
Yeah,
all the way down.
get me some MS numbers and then I can figure
Is
it
he
out
at
for
the
you.
dock still?
Yeah.
Is he in Hyannis?
He's still in Hyannis.
Everybody was out yesterday.
Alright, good. Let's keep this thing rolling. Upcoming renewal and transfer hearings. We got two of them. We'll start with the transfer of aquaculture license site NG 30 from Linda Bagley, 20 High Street, West Barnstable, to Scott Mullen from 90 Alderbrook Lane in West Barnstable for a period of 5 years. The public hearing is April 10th at 10 a.m. Amy, if you wanna
Sure.
run through the site.
So just very quickly, this is Linda's site, NG030 in the aquaculture zone in Barnstable Harbor. I will open up the application, and we are actually lucky enough to have Scott Mullen here with us today. So I will just sort of generally run through your application, and if there's anything else you want to add, you're more than welcome to. So this is the letter from Linda Begley requesting the transfer to Scott, to Town Manager Els. Scott submitted his application. It's 1.99 acres, mean low water 0 feet, mean high 10 feet, sand with light silt on surface, no existing natural shellfish populations. All indigenous species is allowed. Examples: oysters, quahogs, steamers, scallops, mussels, razor clams, etc. Bottom cultivation and off-bottom cultivation, which of course, the harbor master steps in because there's no, height restrictions anymore for the Army Corps. With their restrictions for navigational issues, they wouldn't be distributing any unnatural substrate to the bottom and using best management practices for growth techniques. Harvest is proposed to be by hand and light mechanical where applicable. He would institute crab pots as predator control. It is not his sole means of support, and he does employ outside help. Because this is a transfer, it's treated as a new license, and so even though Scott's an established grower, it still would only be eligible for 5 years and then 10-year renewal after. And this just shows you the lats and longs of the area.
Anyone care to comment about the transfer? I know Scott, he knows what he's doing, and I believe the Bagleys are getting out of it. And after they've put their mark on Barnstable Harbor clamming, it's passing on the torch, I guess. So, other than that, I'll recommend a motion to notify the town manager to approve the transfer of NG 030 to Scott from Linda Bagley to Scott Mullen.
You'll entertain.
Entertain a motion.
A motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. There you go. The next transfer is site NG 029 from Mark Bagley to Tyler Hagenstein. The issuance of the new license to Tyler will be for a period of 5 years. That public hearing is on the same date, April 10th at 10 a.m. Amy?
Yep, so again, this is the Barnstable Harbor Aquaculture Zone, and Mark Bigley has two smaller sites here and here. And he is requested to transfer to Tyler Hagenstein. This is the request letter for transfer to Town Manager Els. Tyler is not here with us today, but he is an existing grower who has to prove annual domicile for the years that he's held the site and had to do so recently, so we do know he does in fact live in town. There's approximately 2 acres involved with 0 feet dry at low and a mean high water depth of approximately 10 feet. Existing bottom conditions are silt and sand. There's trace amounts of quahog steamers and razor clams present. He's looking to cultivate oysters and quahogs and potentially experiment with surf clams. Methodology, oyster seed will grow out in a rack and bag system. Once they reach an appropriate size, they'll graduate into trays. The system is considered off bottom. He'll grow all shellfish as passively as possible. No unnatural substrate will be introduced. And yes, this is a grow out operation. He harvests his shellfish in 100 count bags with the appropriate harvester tags. He does institute a predator control program using green crab traps. It is his main source of support, and he does plan on employing both seasonal and year-round help. And again, even though he's an existing grower, because this is treated as a new license, it would be issued for a period of 5 years. And for some reason there we go. Those are the 2 sites with all their various lats and longs. It's kind of funky setup for sure, yeah. But just like, with the transfer to Scott, Natural Resources doesn't have any opposition to either of these transfers. And, I'd like to congratulate Mark and Linda on their retirement.
Thank you.
All right, anyone have any comments?
I'll make a motion to the town manager to approve site NG029 from Mark Bailey to Tyler Hagenstein.
Second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you,
You
Tim.
can see how bad it is. Feel your struggle.
All right, and then we have upcoming proposed coastal projects. First, we have Jeffrey and Candace Dobro, sorry. 309 Bay Lane, Centerville. Amy, if you wanna dive into that.
Sure, yeah. So obviously nobody is here. This is all largely improvements to the wetland they have there, and all of the work that's proposed is proposed to be done via the upland, and is largely addressing degraded salt marsh, invasive plant species, proposed management of Phragmites. Good luck to you if you can get that under control. But I will say, I think they're working with Wilkinson,
That's a
and
large
they have
area.
had some successful projects in town, so, but it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, but none of it is going to cause any impediment to the shell fishery, so we didn't really have any concerns with it. If I remember correctly, this one already went before the Conservation Commission on the 4th. I'm not sure what the status of that hearing was. Sometimes they tend to get really into the weeds when it comes to like the types of plants they're planning on removing and the types of trees they're planning on planting, so I can provide an update at a later date if anyone is concerned, but Natural Resources didn't have any issues with this project as presented.
Well, if it already went to conservation too, then
It
it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, we'll head over to the second one. This applicant is from 135 Putnam Avenue in Katuitt. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
so
just let you go
this
with that.
one, yeah.
I'm not gonna read it.
It's so interesting to me because I don't have a, yeah, so these are some pictures of the site. This is like off of Ropes Beach. And yeah, there have been a lot of trees that have been falling down over in that area in recent years. And so what they're looking to do is shoreline stabilization, installation of a vinyl bulkhead. It's proposed that all the work is to take place via the upland and that there should not be any impediments to, the shellfishery at all or to the shoreline. Typically in these situations, we just request like a seat at the table when they do the pre-construction meetings to like have our opinion on where staking like work limit lines and stuff like that. So just to ensure that they don't go over and into areas that we don't want them in.
And their conservation meeting was yesterday.
There, yeah, that was just yesterday, so I don't know where this one went at all.
Did it say black locust takes out nitrogen or puts in nitrogen? What did it say? I was just curious, I found that kind of odd, I never, right there. Black locust is a nitrogen fixing clone. What would that?
That would take it out.
Take it out.
Take out,
yeah.
okay.
Pragmatic actually does it too.
It does, which is so interesting because in areas that it's become so well established, we actually took issue with that, what sort of natural resources did outside of our capacity with the shellfish. When Wayfair had applied for that 1,000-foot pier going into East Bay because they were promoting a lot of Phragmites work, and it's, you know, been proven in established populations that it can actually fix nitrogen. And we're like, well, if they take all of that out and then it's just all cleared out, will that have a negative effect on water quality in East Bay? And so far, no, so that's good. But, you know, in spite of the fact that it is an invasive, it does do some nitrogen work, but it just also completely takes over areas and ruins native species.
So I guess this one's out of our hands too. Yeah, and we have nothing for old business.
The one thing I will just remind is that I believe it's on the 25th.
Is the Katuah one dead in the water now?
No,
Is this the one you're gonna go to?
yeah,
I
this
was
is
gonna.
the one I'm referring to.
Well,
I do believe, oh, see, now it's not gonna work for me, because it's like, it said something bad about conservation.
So are they amending the zoning? It's gonna try
No,
to?
no, so they had gone before zoning, back in 2018, and were denied relief from the zoning
Yeah.
overlay. They fought it in court and it stayed there for a number of years, and eventually it was just it was closed in 2023, so they didn't get it.
Unfounded.
So they're obviously going through conservation now to try to get it permitted that way, which my department is not okay with. This committee, yes, I don't see an agenda yet, so. They should have an agenda posted probably sometime next week, but I do believe at the first time, the first meeting where it was supposed to be heard, it was not heard, and they asked for a continuance until March 25th, so.
So that'd be a good one. Is that a
was-
Zoom or a real one?
Zoom.
It's a Zoom still, yeah. Yeah, that's one I would encourage anyone to attend to speak on behalf of the shellfishery. Because if we start allowing zoning overlays that were put in place by
Oh,
the community at large, trying to protect access to the shellfishery and to protect the habitat,
first
and then
step.
start allowing docks and piers to be built in those areas where those overlays exist, it's a very dangerous precedent.
Yeah, I'll be attending that meeting, so.
As will I.
Any other things not reasonably anticipated by the chair? All right, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm second that.
Well,
Oh, you gotta,
Somebody's
I make a
gonna
motion,
entertain.
oh, you gotta entertain, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
I
All opposed? All right, have a good night.